Warning, the following video may contain adult language and themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you have a problem with this, stop playing this video now. Okay, I just saw another horror movie, and I'd say it's kind of the same quality of Trapped. It's slightly above average. And you know, compared to other horror movies, it was actually kind of good. It's called Bad Moon, and it's a werewolf movie. I haven't seen very many werewolf movies. I think probably the ones that come to mind that I've seen right now are The Howling, which I don't remember at all, and Ginger Snaps, which I really liked. I didn't like the sequels to Ginger Snaps, but I liked the original one. This one was pretty good. It was released in 1996. It had hardly anybody in it that I recognized. The only person I recognized in it was the little kid, who I think I recognized the mom, but I don't know from where. The little kid I think I recognized from Rushmore. I think he starred in Rushmore. He was Max's little blonde-haired sidekick or something. I think that's who he was. So yeah, it's called Bad Moon. It was released in 1996. It's a werewolf movie. And before I get into spoilers, how would I sum up this movie? I would sum it up as a fairly average movie with above average werewolf effects. I actually really like the werewolf effects, although I can't really. The version of this movie I saw was in pretty low resolution, so I'm not really sure even how good the special effects were. The resolution I saw it in, the special effects were pretty good. The werewolf is actually walking on 2 feet in this one, which is, that's actually most werewolf movies I've seen. They don't walk on 2 feet, which is a nice little surprise. So I'm gonna get into spoilers now. Basically, the movie starts out where like this guy is on like this camping trip in like another country. I'm assuming in like some Asian country or some African country, and he's with his girlfriend, and they get attacked by a werewolf. His girlfriend gets like shredded to pieces. Like the opening scene is actually pretty brutal. It gets pretty brutal pretty quick, and there's nudity in like the first couple of minutes of the movie, so it wastes no time getting into the tits and ass and blood and gore and shit. Yeah, she just gets shredded to pieces. She dies, and the guy gets like cut by the werewolf. I don't think he's bitten. I think he's just cut, and he blows the werewolf's head off with a shotgun. So apparently, the lore of werewolves does not apply here. You can kill a werewolf with anything like a shotgun, or as long as you just do it well. You don't need a silver bullet or anything. And I think they throw aside the mythos of needing a full moon as well. I think they do. And so the guy like survives. He kills the werewolf, and he goes back home to the United States to visit his sister, who's a lawyer and lives in a huge ass house with her son. The kid from Rushmore, and the son has a dog named Thor, who's like, I believe, a Doberman Pinscher. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like the police dog type, and basically the guy's theory is that he starts becoming a werewolf too, and obviously then there's news stories follow him about like these people getting mauled by animals, and so his theory is that he can't cure himself. He's looked all over, and he's gotten all these blood tests, but he can't cure himself. So he thinks that the power of family will cure his disease. So that's why he goes back to see his family. And basically, another interesting thing about this movie is he's sort of the tortured soul. You know what I mean? He doesn't like being a werewolf. He's trying to stop being a werewolf. And what he does at night to try to, minimize the casualties is he chains himself up to a tree so he can't do any damage to anybody when he turns into a werewolf. So yeah, it just turns out that the power of family, surprise, surprise, will not cure his werewolfism. so, and halfway through the movie, the dog consents that something's wrong with this guy. His other family doesn't know for a long time that he's a werewolf, and the dog consents it though. And halfway through the movie, like the guy the main character, the guy who's the werewolf, who reminds me a lot of Costas Mandylor, who's from the Saw series, he the guy kind of turns into a bad guy like halfway through the movie. He turns from a tortured soul to actually just being kind of a twisted fuck. Like, like the dog attacks him because he smells the werewolf, and the dog gets taken away by animal control to be put asleep, and the guy is deviously like waving to the dog goodbye. It's like, so he turns into basically an asshole halfway through the movie, and not just a tortured soul. and you kind of know the rest of the movie from there on. You know, they discover he's a werewolf, and then there's a huge showdown, and so I'm not going to spoil the rest of the movie, but and there is a fairly touching like side story between Thor the dog and the young boy, and how it's a pretty touching story. But so overall, how would I describe this movie? It's a very average movie with above average special effects, and maybe if I watched it in 1080p, I might even take away that from it because the special effects looked good in the resolution I saw it in, but it was a pretty low resolution. Actually, when you actually saw the werewolf after he was transformed, it looked good in low resolution. But actually, when I saw him actually transform, you actually see him transform at one point physically, which is probably the best part of most werewolf movies. It actually looked pretty fake. It actually looked pretty bad. I don't know. This movie, I'd probably given this movie a higher rating than it deserves. I'd probably give it maybe like a 6.6, 6.7. I know, it's probably unfair to give it a rating close to Trapped, but the way I give ratings is how does it compare to others in its genre, and did it accomplish what it tried to? That's how I don't compare these movies relative to each other movies, of unrelated genre. Exploitation, which was Trapped, and werewolf movie, which is this movie. So yeah, probably 6.7 out of 10. You could do a lot worse. Yeah, might think about checking it out. It's not a very long movie. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. That's another problem I had with this movie, is that there's not enough substance to this movie to really justify an hour and 20 minutes, which even then is very short. This movie actually could have been just like a TV movie, which ran only an hour with commercials. I mean, it's really that thin of a story. It really is. But you could do a lot worse. Eh, it's not that bad. I don't feel like I wasted my time, but it's not great. It's not bad. It's just okay. Again, it's called Bad Moon. It's released in 1996. It stars, let me see here, Mariel Hemingway as the mom, Michael Pere as the bad guy, Uncle Ted, the werewolf, and I think Mason Gamble as the little kid. So, yeah, check it out. You could do a lot worse. Anyway, okay, take it easy.